Distribution provided by Cloud Sigma, the cloud that adapts to you. Visit cloudsigma.com/thisweekin for a free $200 credit.
Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by the Resumator. Try the Resumator, the hiring solution used by today's fastest growing startups. Start a free trial at theresumator.com/twist. And by Squarespace, an all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create a professional website and now an online store. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to squarespace.com and use the offer code TWIST5.
Hey everybody, it's This Week in Startups, our news roundtable edition. On the show today, we're going to talk about Google Glass. We're going to talk about Path and the spamming problems. The disrupt winner is Enigma. Peter Thiel says Twitter is going to outlast the New York Times. We have a Bitcoin ATM prototype in New Hampshire. iOS 7 is coming. And with us to discuss it, Tim Stevens, the editor-in-chief of Engadget, Howard Lindzon from Stevens-TWiST, and Mark Jeffery of Glossy. Of course, Kieran Kalia is going to read the news, and I am going to give insights. Stick with us. It's going to be an amazing program.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis of This Week in Startups. If it's your first time here, we talk about startups, technology, founding companies, putting a dent in the universe, and we do 2 shows a week. On Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, I interview a VC, an angel investor, and typically a founder or entrepreneur of a company. And we talk about what they're building, why, the struggle, etc. On Fridays at 1 p.m. Pacific, we do our news roundtable, and we have amazing minds from the world of technology, from the world of entrepreneurship and angel investing come and discuss with us the news of the week. Kieran Kalia then reads that news, and we riff on it. You, in the process of watching these 2 shows per week, get your MBA. You learn how to build companies, you learn about the technology industry, you learn how to make stuff and to put a dent in the universe. That's the concept here. We've been doing it for 350 episodes, and we could only do it with the support of great people like the Resumator. Thanks to my friends at the Resumator. I've been using this product now for 4 or 5 years, and interestingly, just so you get an idea about how the show has built a true community. Over 100,000 people download every episode of the show, and it's a real community. There's 250 people on the back channel, like on a private email list, talking about it. And we had a small company out of, was it Philly or? Pittsburgh. It was one of those places, near New York. So when you're a New Yorker, you're like, yeah, one of those places that's sort of like you go to Penn Station or Grand Central, and then you wind up in one of those places. But anyway, the founder came on the program and asked a question, because we have an Ask Jason segment. This was like in the first 20 episodes. Then he built his company. He raised angel funding. He crushed it. I started using the product 4 years ago. It's called the Resumator. It's very simple. It solves the problem of people sending hundreds and thousands of resumes to an email list after you put your job on Craigslist. Instead, you create a Resumator profile, you put a URL, you send people to that URL, they submit their resume, they upload it, it normalizes it, puts it in a PDF, and it creates workflow. So somebody can say, is this person qualified or not, and qualify them. How qualified are they? Just by hitting a drop-down menu. And they can say, what's the next action? Oh, the next action is we should do a phone interview. Then the next person who does the phone interviews gets an alert. Okay, I'm going to do the phone interview for these people. Then after they do a phone interview, they say, oh, well, now Mark Jeffery's got to interview that person in person. Okay, now they interview that person in person. Then they say, oh, and now the boss man's got to meet them because they made it to the next level. And then you have this huge database. And here it is, 18,000 applicants in my Resumator account over 14 years. And when Mark Jeffery, who's with me here, who was the CTO of Mahalo when we started, now Inside.com, he used to use this product. And a lot of the applicants are still in there. So I get applicants today for jobs that may have applied back in the Mark Jeffery era. It's incredible. It's a great product. It's super affordable. And it's one of those solutions that now you don't even have to hire an HR department to do all this stuff. It makes it that much simpler. Kieran, you use it as well.
I have. It's great.
There you go.
I love rating the applicants.
Yes. And so you can market your openings on free job boards. It does that for you. So you put in the job once, it puts it on all the free job boards. So it does that cross-posting. Screen resumes based on your job criteria. Track applicants through the hiring process. Hire employees more efficiently. Stay competitive by reducing time and cost per hire, which we all need to do. Their customers, besides myself, include Instagram, Pinterest and Hootsuite, you may have heard of those companies. Never let a lack of hiring experience stand in the way of your company's growth. Visit theresumator.com/twist. Theresumator.com/twist. Theresumator.com/twist, and you will get a free trial. These guys are fantastic. I highly recommend them, and it costs, I don't know, what does it cost? Like $50 a month or $99 a month?
I don't pay the
It's like one of
bills.
these things where it's like under 100. It's so little that I don't even know how much I pay for it. This is the great thing about software as a service. They have so many clients that they just charge each client a little bit of money. With me on the program this week, Howard Lindzon of Twits. How are you doing, Howard?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. And you're in San Diego right now? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm stressed away in San Diego.
Stressing out down there? I know. I heard that it's going to rain in 7 weeks.
It was 74 today. Usually it's 75, so I was
Yeah.
just adapting. I'm adapting like a dinosaur.
And now you're also an angel investor in how many companies now? How many have you invested in?
You know, not including exits, about 67.
Wow. So Howard Lindzon's been on the program before. Everybody loves when Howard's on the program, and you can follow him at Howard Lindzon, Lindzon. Also on the program, Tim Stevens, the editor-in-chief of my favorite technology blog, Engadget. Tim, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me. Glad to be here.
And you understand we have a no glass rule here, so you have to. No, look, you got the
Hey.
Google glasses on. No, leave them on. Leave them on. Leave them on. Leave them
Leave
on.
it on.
I have
Okay,
the
all right.
original glass, the Oakley glass.
Well, actually,
Sold themselves.
wasn't the understanding that Oakley was going to? I mean, obviously they're going to let Warby Parker and all these other people. Was it Warby Parker?
Warby Parker.
Yeah, whatever. That guy. Warby Parker's going to make glasses, right, Tim? And isn't Oakley going to make glasses too?
I wouldn't be surprised for at least the inserts. So the inserts are actually pretty well made. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Oakley has something to do with that. The lenses certainly feel a little bit similar to my Oakleys, but
Oakley-
nothing public yet.
And
Oakley's now owned by Luxottica, so a big conglomerate.
oh, right, I read about that Luxottica company. Does anybody know about this company?
It is unbelievably large, out of Italy, and it makes every set of glasses in the world, basically, other than Warby Parker. They make Ray-Bans, they make Oakleys.
It's unbelievable. This company was on 60 Minutes, and the CEO is like, "Yeah, we make 87% of the glasses in the world."
Wow.
And
Public company, LUX, been a great stock.
it's unbelievable. It's like a monopoly that nobody knows about. LX, I guess, is the ticker symbol here.
LUX.
Oh, sorry, wrong ticker symbol. And it's unbelievable. This thing is like on fire, and it's a monopoly. It's incredible. They own every single group.
Yes.
Who does. And with us also Mark Jeffery, formerly CTO of Mahalo, now Chief Product Officer at Glossy. Before that, created the Palace, the first internet virtual avatar system in 1995 or
Yes.
6. Sold to Time Warner. So you are old.
Yes, I
That's
am
basically what we can say here. You're very old, and you have a lot of scars around the internet space. You worked on Pathfinder, the first portal.
No, I was never at Pathfinder.
You sold it to Pathfinder eventually.
No, we fought Pathfinder actually. So the rule inside Time Warner at the time was that you had to be on Pathfinder if you were doing anything on the internet. We basically just ignored that rule.
Got it.
So yeah.
But it was the first avatar chat. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
on the
basically
internet it
what
was.
now Second Life, all
Yep.
these things have become. All right, first story, most important story of the week is what, Karen?
Well, we thought it was Apple moving towards car integration.
Oh, yeah, let's hear this.
So, unnamed sources, Apple's working with car makers to integrate iOS devices, specifically the iPhone to plug into the car, bringing up an optimized console display for iOS software like Maps. And of course, last year, Apple announced Eyes-Free Siri so that you could allow the screen to be off and still use it while it's connected to a car. Some of the manufacturers they're allegedly working with, BMW, Toyota, Audi, Honda, Land Rover, actually that's for the Eyes-Free product. And Eddie Q, Apple's SVP of Internet Software, is said to have long had interest in car, and he's on Ferrari's board of directors. So would you want Apple integrated with your Tesla?
Well, here's the thing. Their Maps product sucks. So for them to, I mean, this is probably why that guy Forstall got fired, was because they have such great ambitions and they built such a terrible product. Tim, what do you think?
This is definitely happening. I'd be surprised if we don't see something about this at WWDC. This, I think, is the next big thing that smartphones are going to start adding. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. Nokia's been working on their MirrorLink standard forever. And I've been really waiting for Microsoft to kind of pull that out of the hat and say, hey, Windows Phone 8's got great phone or great car integration, but they haven't done that yet either. Apple could definitely be the first one to get this right. They had the iPod out functionality, which kind of got nixed with the Lightning standard because there wasn't basically the bandwidth for that over that cable. But definitely, there's a lot of room for innovation here. There's a lot of room for doing more and better stuff with your smartphone in the dashboard. Yeah, Maps is maybe not your ideal navigation solution. I'd prefer the Nokia or the Google solution for sure. But I'd be shocked if we don't see something like this before the end of the summer.
It's pretty interesting because, obviously the Model S, which I've been driving for a little while now, has a full computer
Yeah, so
screen
you
and
don't
everything
need
in
Apple.
it. But the problem is, listen, it's fantastic. The best part is the over-the-air updates. But if it's Apple's products, they have there's absolutely no integration into the car, nor will there ever be, right? Like they're not going to be involved in the speed the car's going, or maybe they could be tangentially. But the great thing about the Tesla is they own the platform and the hardware as well as the software, so they can do really interesting things. Like when I get close to my house, the home link pops up and drops down and says, do you want to open your gate? Because it knows that I'm near my house because of the maps, which is a crazy feature.
Which is good as long as you're the one driving the car.
Oh, yeah, of course, right? It's not going to but you still have to have programmed in.
The Joker can get into the
you have to
Batcave
program
if
it.
he
Yeah,
has
you
your
still have to
car.
program in your thing. So I just think Chamath wrote a good piece that they should make Elon Musk the CEO of, and that Apple should buy Tesla. And I've been saying Google should buy Tesla or Apple for a year now or two. Howard, what do you think? Is this going to be any kind of boost for Apple, or is Apple toast right now? Because they've obviously gotten their asses kicked in the market for the last year. Basically, since Steve Jobs passed away, Apple's just trajectory has been, and the sentiment of Apple has been, this company is toast.
Yeah, they're not toast. I'd like to be that toast. I think from a stock perspective, everybody owned it. And a few bad quarters, everybody was focused on margins. So as Tesla deals with the hardware, if Ives can do a better job partnering around the software, they'd be right back on top again. I think the car is obviously we spend so much time in our cars that it's just awesome that Google and Apple are pushing the envelope here, and Tesla. So this is where we need innovation. You can't build as many roads. The country doesn't want to build anything anymore. Nobody builds anything. So we've got to solve the road problems with the cars that we have. And Tesla's innovating, and that's what's great. I mean, you were early on that call, so congratulations. I was later on that call. But Apple's got to be on the roads. This would be a huge tactical error not to be. So I imagine there's very high-level conversations. On StockTwits, we're always talking about should Apple or Google buy Tesla. It's going to happen. Somebody's going to have to step up, and they can afford to pay triple the price of where Tesla is today.
And why is Apple doing stupid stuff like a dividend and bonds, and they're not doing anything like innovative or bold, like buying Twitter, Dropbox, Evernote, or Tesla? Wow. Is that just a lack of creativity, or is it their DNA? Is it a mistake, or am I wrong, Howard?
Acquisitions are hard. I mean, Google's done a great job, and so has Apple, by the way. Sneakily, they bought some encrypted. I mean, Apple's done a lot of quieter acquisitions. Google's just done a lot of very great acquisitions themselves, and acquisitions are generally hard. I think that Apple will change. Things are going to change there. I mean, Steve has passed away. It's been a year. There's probably a lot of infighting. I can only imagine the infighting that goes on now that Steve isn't there at the top, laying down the law at the last minute. So there's just a lot of hens in the kitchen there. To be honest, I bought my son a Mac iPad Mini, and to watch him use that was as if the whole world had been opened to him yet again by Apple. So as much as everybody thinks Apple's dead, getting my 14-year-old a birthday iPad Mini, he wasn't talking about the screen or anything other than, whoa. He was immersed in it. It was like it was the greatest thing that he had ever seen. And, I think it's a hard game to play, the Snapchat game or the Dropbox game or all these software games. I think Apple taking their 30% tax is a hell of a good game, and they've been a pretty good government. All things considered, my taxes haven't gone up as a developer more than 30%, and everything seems to work pretty damn good for kids, for adults, for old people, for my mom.
Tim, which is the more important product? The Google Glass, which you're wearing, the Apple bracelet, car integration, or Apple having a TV set? Tim?
Oh, that's a tough one. Certainly not the TV set. I think we can rule that one out.
Why? Why is the TV set not important?
I'm actually really surprised by that.
Yeah.
I think that having some sort of TV integration is important, but I don't think that having a discrete TV set for Apple is important. I don't think that's the right way to go. I think that working with TV manufacturers to have their interface integrated into TVs would be a better bet for Apple than to try to start producing display panels and that kind of thing.
Okay, so let's go to the other three. The bracelet or watch, glass or car integration. Which is the most important thing?
I think that the bracelet will certainly have the most immediate sales. I mean, as soon as they launch that thing, it's going to sell, sell hugely. I would say the car integration is a very important thing, but that's not really going to move the needle in the short term. It's something that's basically going to become a more important part of the platform, just like navigation over the past 2 years has become a very important part of the mobile OS platform. So I don't think that's really going to change things, but it's going to be something that they'll need to stay competitive. So I guess with those, I would say the iWatch or whatever you want to call it.
I call it the bangle. I think we should start calling it the iBangle, just to make them really upset over there. Mark, you bristled at the Apple TV not being important. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't yet have a great TV internet experience yet. I bought a Google TV when it first came out.
Terrible.
I was very hopeful, and it did not deliver.
It's terrible.
So,
Google TV is terrible.
I'm not as harsh on it, but it did,
what do you give it on a
there.
scale of 1 to 10? A 5?
5. Yeah.
It's a 5. That's terrible, by the way.
Well, it's better than the 0, which is what I had before. So
okay, right. So basically, it's better than nothing. Right, exactly. But it's still a 5, which is still terrible.
Yeah.
So Google's terrible.
It's not this. This is wonderful. I love this.
Right. So you think Apple TV, you're a buyer immediately at a 50% premium to a Samsung?
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I am too, but I don't know if that were. What about you, Howard? You long the Apple TV, physical TV?
I'm just long Google. I think I was on the show 6 months ago maybe, and I've been long Google, Tesla, Amazon. But he's pulling. I'll go with the nerds here. I'll go with the geeks. Your 5 out of 10 means that we've never tried this product, which means when it finally gets to a 9 out of 10 amongst the geeks, it'll filter down to guys like us who finally can buy it for the first time, or maybe even 2 years away still. So I think this is still a war of positioning. This is a land war that Google and Apple are playing, and both these companies have a lot at stake, and they're doing as good a job as they can at this scale. I don't think what the geeks give these companies credit for is the size and breadth and globalness of these decisions that are being made. And we're talking about pleasing Wall Street on a quarterly basis. It's really quite breathtaking when you dive as deep as you guys want to into these products at a global scale to see the execution that's going on to deliver that little iPad mini that he's playing with right now. So I think the TV, they're going to get there. It sounds stupid that they should be shipping TVs. Maybe they get it so that iPad mini is a 50-inch thing and you can just tilt it against your wall and it's light enough to hold. I don't know, but I mean, I don't think there's a rush when the 9 or 10 isn't available yet. And I think it's still a question of bandwidth. And if we can get the government out of Verizon's and AT&T's ass and actually do something around bandwidth, then I'll be more excited about the hardware. So I don't know.
So you're very long the Google Fiber, and obviously Fiber is going to be a driving force inside of Google. We saw this week they also, Kieran, added a 4th city. I believe they announced a 4th city yesterday, last night. Yeah, I read that. Somebody could look that up. Yeah. Kyle, look that up on the back end.
Coronado.
Oh, is it Coronado? Yeah, they have one 100 gigabit connection to your home.
Yes.
That's going to be that's a lot of porn, Howard. That's a lot of porn.
It's right in through my ass. My forehead lights up.
All right, let's
on my forehead.
Let's take a moment just to talk about glass. Obviously, Tim, you're wearing it. Is this anywhere close to being something that non-Scoble-like people, non-Tim-like people will buy for Christmas this year or next?
No. For one thing, the price is prohibitive. Of course, it's $1,500. But even if even if that were a sort of a tangible price for you, there's really no way to get them right now. It's just really for developers and a few lucky individuals who posted, compelling stories on Google Plus and got selected. So even if you did want one, I think it'd be very, very difficult to get one before the end of the year.
No, but I'm saying, what's the timeline here? Is it, if they can, let's assume they can make a $500 version of it where it could be accessible to more people. Are people going to buy it this Christmas maybe, or next Christmas, or are we talking about 3 Christmases from now all the way into 2015?
Google could surprise me at I/O here in a couple of weeks and announce something. I would be surprised if we see a major retail release of a consumer-ready, affordable version of glass anytime before the end of the year. So I would expect next Christmas would be the time that this would be if indeed is going to be a hot gift item, that would be the time that it is. I feel like they'll continue to revise the hardware internally through the rest of this year, let developers really get to grips with it, because this is a whole new development paradigm. I think we'll see a lot of cool stuff coming out this year, but I don't think we'll see the actual consumer-ready device until next year.
And to be clear, first of all, how do they feel on your head? Because they look incredibly uncomfortable. Are they heavy to wear on your head? I mean, I've held them in my hand, but I've not worn them. Are they? They're
actually not that bad. They weigh about 45 grams, which is heavier than a pair of glasses for sure. But the way the weight's balanced, the battery pack actually sits behind your ear here, so it's reasonably well balanced. It does, as you can probably see, it sits a little bit askew because the right side's heavier than the left. But ultimately, it's not really a lot of weight on your nose, at least. So it's no worse, I think, than a comfortable pair of glasses.
What's the longest you've worn them for?
Longest I've worn them for would be about 5 hours when I was doing a couple of battery tests. So that's about as long as the battery is likely to last for you. So that's as long, unless you want to run a cable up to the side of your head, that's probably the longest that you're going to be reasonably wearing.
So these things, what do you think?
I would like to run a cable upside my head. I think I cannot believe what I'm listening to here. God bless you guys for being the idiots testing all this stuff. I think
I just called the editor-in-chief of Engadget, the largest technology blog, an idiot
really
for testing Google Glass. Tim, welcome to the program. You idiot.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm just saying, you guys are so granular. It's no different than stock tips, where we're all worried about the next dollar in a stock.
Obsessing. He's obsessing.
We're obsessing, and it's wonderful that there's people too obsessed over this. This is a home run. Google is one of the greatest companies that still hasn't even started yet. I was over in London seeing the Google campus, and I'm like, we're talking about Google Glass as if it's not going away. This layer of hardware is coming. And it's a great time to be, a consumer. Really, what we should be talking about is a great time to be.
What percentage of people will be wearing these in 3 years' time? What percentage of people will be wearing these in the United States? Mark Jeffery.
It's got to be more invisible. I mean, if you look like you're wearing a computer on your glasses,
right? You look like
you're trying too hard.
Yes, it's a douchey move.
So you can't. So it's got to be invisible.
Okay,
if it's going to succeed
3 years from now, what percentage of people in the United States will wear them on a daily basis?
1%, maybe. I don't think it's going to be a huge.
Tim, in 3 years' time, what percentage of Americans will wear these at least once a day?
In 3 years, I would say probably about 1%. In 5 years, I'd say somewhere between, I'd say around 3%.
And 10 years from now?
10 years? Oh, that's a hard question. I mean, I think in 10 years, everything will be completely changed again, and what we think of as glass will be a very different thing. It will just be a standard part of a pair of glasses at that point. So at that point, I'd say, if you consider just any old pair of glasses with some smarts in it to be, quote unquote glass, and I'd say, 10, 15%.
Wow. So we're talking about this, which...
Don't ask me.
Yeah. No, Howard, we know your ability to pick stocks and your theories on picking stocks.
Well, I'd say it won't even ship it. I'm going to go off this thing and say they won't even ship it.
Yeah, see, this is one of the theories that's going around, is that this is just Google saying, look at this over here, shiny item over here, when really their business is fiber. And their business is the ad network, and their business is YouTube, and their business is Android, and they're like, sparkly new object over here.
They've also
nobody
got
look
Google
at the
Ventures
AdSense. You believe
and
that?
the Glass Collective. Since they've got the Glass Collective making big investments.
I feel it's quite obvious that they're doing a sleight of hand. And
Tim, do you agree or not?
No, they've got the Glass Collective making hundreds of millions of dollars of investments into companies that are working on stuff for glass. I don't think they'd be bothering with that if indeed this was just a one-off, like the Nexus Q. I don't think they'd be doing that.
Howard, what's your answer to that? Hundreds of millions of dollars being blown on Google Google Glass apps?
Well, people blew a lot of money on the first generation of iPhone apps too. I think at some level the glass is important. I don't know if it'll be attached to my eyebrows. I mean, I can see myself golfing and having glasses that zone in on the course, just like Tiger Woods golf on EA. So I think around certain events, 50% of us want the glasses if they do what glasses need to do around an event. But on a day-to-day basis, I agree that they're not.
Wow, I just had this crazy vision, Mark, of people playing basketball in the NBA Finals, and it's showing their
you can see their point of
view.
view. That
And
would
I
be
could
awesome.
see Kobe Bryant's point of view because he's wearing them, because they're mic'd up now, right? They keep doing microphones. And Kobe Bryant could see exactly how many feet he is from the basket. What would that do to shooting percentage if because right now it's just like, they just know how far away they are. But if it could tell them down to a percentage of a foot, like you're 18.3.
I don't think they can process information that quickly. I mean,
Not yet.
What if you knew how? Yeah, I mean, it's like this. We'd have to come up with a whole new set of rules. All right, when we get back from the commercial break.
It's like when you do Taekwondo, right? You don't think about it.
Right.
And if you're looking at numbers, you're thinking. So I don't think it's more efficient.
Right, because it has to be instinct because it's that fast.
Yeah.
But there could be with football, maybe when you're doing the Hail Mary pass. All right, when we get back, we'll talk. Golf is obviously like just
Golf,
killer.
yes.
Like this, because
Car
you're really
racing too,
premeditating the swing. All right, when we get back, we'll talk about other glass potential apps. We'll talk about iOS 7. Bitcoin is obviously a big thing on the agenda. There's an ATM for Bitcoin. Yahoo's buying everything in sight that's under $30 million when we get back from this commercial break. Oh, wait, I read the commercial? Is that how this works here? Hey, listen. This makes it really easy for me because I'm so lucky to have whitelisted advertising. Basically, if I use a product and I love it, we contact them and say, would you want to sponsor a program that helps entrepreneurs? And like literally 2 out of 3 say yes. Squarespace is one of those brilliant companies. 24/7 support for creating exceptional looking sites. And they added a new feature. You can automatically create an online store. Yes, Mark Jeffery, that's correct. With the new Squarespace, it's like getting Magento built in. You can create literally create an e-commerce site in minutes. And they have calendars, which are beautiful and easy to set up. So here's their new calendar feature, where you can just embed a calendar inside of a website.
I hadn't seen that yet.
Super easy. And this is the great thing about Squarespace. You sign up for like $10 a month or $15 a month, whatever it is. You know, your mom's business, your cousin's business, your personal website, your small business, maybe the blog for your company. And they just add beautiful feature after beautiful feature. They make it mobile ready. They did that a year ago. Everything just all of a sudden was beautiful, web enabled. And every site is automatically resized for mobile versions. Just gorgeous stuff that you can see here. And it's just great that they have the sales stuff, because I can't tell you how many people I have who say, I want a web host and I want to do e-commerce.
Yeah.
And so you'd say, oh, well, go get Magento or whatever. Like, then you have to get a programmer for that. Oh, you're going to do WordPress or something like that, or you're going to do movable type, whatever. Now you got to get like 3 or 4 programmers for that. Or you can just go to Squarespace, sign up, put your credit card in, and you're done. Go to squarespace.com and try it out for free. No credit card required. Starts at only $8 a month. And if you decide to keep your site after the free trial, use the offer code TWIST5, and you'll get a special offer or something. Everything you need to create exceptional websites. If I say beautiful website, that's e-commerce and mobile enabled natively, you think Squarespace. When I say mobile site, e-commerce, beautiful design, you think Squarespace?
I love Squarespace. Actually, Squarespace was one of the inspirations for Glossy.
Oh, really?
Just being completely honest.
Yeah.
We wanted to do something like iBooks Author, which is kind of difficult to use.
Yeah.
And I kept saying Squarespace simple, Squarespace simple.
Right.
So,
it is the mantra in the industry.
really
They're
is.
so good at what they do. Thank you for that awesome punch up. And let's go to the next story. Next story.
All right, well, let's talk about iOS 7 since we were talking about
iOS 7, okay.
Apple not too long ago. So a lot of talk about iOS 7 this week. You know, is it going to be late? Is it not? Supposed to launch in September with the preview in June at WWDC, of course. Bloomberg had reported Apple was risking a delay with a major software change. You know, Johnny Ive is redesigning it. There's going to be supposedly a new visual scheme favoring solid colors. No more of this optical effect that makes it look like there's textures and reflections. It's going to be a flat design. Calendar overhaul, new built-in email tools, new icons. So, you know, the WWDC landing page says we're going to see what's next in iOS and OS 10. Is Johnny Ive the best person to redesign OIS right now? And
Tim?
I can't wait to see what he does. I mean, he's been doing such great stuff on the hardware front. To give him free reign over the software definitely is exciting. I'm no fan of skeuomorphism, at least in the way that Apple has done it in iOS in the past. So I'm thrilled that they're going to rip that out. I'm also curious what sort of functionality they're going to bring in. But yeah, I mean, I think a fresh perspective is going to be helpful. But making such a drastic change like that with so little time before the next major release is it's risky for sure. I have a feeling that they're going to pull out all the stops and get everybody on board and make sure this happens in time. But I'm guessing there's going to be some late nights and long weeks over the next couple of weeks.
Can you define skeuomorphism for the people who don't know, and why is that important that they're moving away from skeuomorphism?
Sure. Skeuomorphism is basically an attempt to give a digital representation of something, how it might look in real life. So the game center in iOS is probably the best example. It's made to kind of look like a poker table or a blackjack table, that kind of thing. So it's got green velvet and raised lettering. There's also the classic linen texture is commonly used throughout. So these are textures and a virtual 3D appearance, trying to give a greater tactility to the overall feel. I think in moderation that can be great, like the apps in Blackberry OS 10, for example. Some of the apps that are built in there have that sort of thing. Like a calculator app, for example, I think looks pretty good because it's a nice flat color scheme, but still giving the 3D effect. But I think overall Apple goes a little bit too far with that, so I'm glad to see it being paired up.
Yeah, and what do you think of OS 10 in terms of the hub and some of these quick keys? I was playing with it. Am I wrong to be really impressed with their thinking and execution for their new OS?
No, I think they've been doing great things, and they're also, which I think is great, taking kind of a slow path toward bringing OS 10 and iOS together. That's opposed to Microsoft, who really made a drastic step to make Windows 8, very much like Windows Phone in general, which obviously has been causing them some issues in terms of adoption. So I think Apple's taking the right track in that regard. Obviously these two operating systems are converging, and at some point they will converge. But it's a very slow process. You're talking
about the desktop iOS for Mac and the mobile.
OS 10 on the desktop and iOS on the mobile front.
And Windows 8 obviously is one platform.
Right. So with Windows 8, Microsoft really tried to take a lot of the functionality of Windows Mobile and their tablet operating systems and bring that to the desktop. And too much so, for example, not being able to resize Windows on your desktop is a very limiting thing on a desktop. And on a smartphone, it's sort of just the way it is.
But what about BlackBerry's OS? I was actually asking you about that because I was very impressed when I played with it, the hub on BlackBerry and some of the quick keys and stuff like that. And I'm looking forward to the Q10 with the keyboard. You guys gave it a pretty solid review on Engadget. Is BlackBerry going to have a nice rebound with the Q10? It seems like the Q10 looks very promising.
I think that they will definitely see something of a rebound. I don't think it's going to be a huge one. I don't think they're going to leap ahead of Microsoft and take full control of the third place position by any means, but I do think that they'll see a nice balance when the Q10 is available. BlackBerry 10 I think is a great operating system. The hub for me is a little bit tough to use because I get so much email and so many messages that to have them all kind of dumped together in one pile is impossible to keep up with. But BlackBerry 10 is the best operating system if you're jumping between email and meetings and websites and apps and toggling back and forth between those things quickly. They built that right into the OS, which I think is really nice. It's the app selection that right now is really killing them. And I hope that continues to improve. But yeah, the Q10 I think is a very solid phone. The hardware is very similar to the 9900 Bold, which again was a nice phone. That was let down by the software. So finally they've got a nice operating system to match.
What do you think, Howard? Because Howard, you were obviously famously a very big BlackBerry fan. You were typing upwards of 270 words per minute on your BlackBerry, if I remember correctly. And now you're like sitting there with your fat thumbs on that iPhone, and you sound like you don't even know how to speak English. You going to race back to the Q10 or not?
No.
All right, there you have it, folks. Short BlackBerry. No, what do you?
Why?
Yeah,
I mean, why? I mean, in the end, my iPhone isn't broken, and so it's going to take something to leapfrog. Just like we loved our BlackBerries before the iPhone came along. Yeah. Everybody thought iPhone would be dumb. So it's going to take something, a toy, as we all know, and people to go, oh, this is dumb, and then slowly the early adopters will do it. But it ain't the Q10 because my iPhone works or my Droid works.
It so doesn't work for me. I'm like, I have the Note 2, I have the iPhone 5, and I cannot type long messages.
Can you type on this? I can.
Yeah, you can, but I'll tell you what I'm really enjoying right now is I really enjoy Swipe, or either Swipe, specifically Swipe, or the Swipe-like gestures on.
Have you tried SwiftKey?
On SwiftKey or Swipe. Either of those on Android are amazing in terms of how fast you can type. If you start trusting it. Is that right, Tim? It's like, am I right that if you trust them, you can do pretty good with those?
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely learn your behavior, and that's one of the, going back to iOS 7. That's one of the big things that I hope Apple brings because their keyboard, to me, right now is kind of the least sophisticated of the bunch. And, they started out with what was at the time a great on-glass typing experience, but now they've been left behind by Android. And the BlackBerry 10 keyboard is very good too, which is actually very similar to SwiftKey. I really think that Apple needs to have a fundamentally hugely better keyboard in iOS 7, and I really think they should finally open it up and let third-party keyboards get plugged in. I think that's wishful thinking, though. But they've got to have a much better keyboard in iOS 7.
Didn't the CEO of BlackBerry say, like yesterday or the day before, that tablets were a fad?
Yeah, he said at the beginning of the week.
Yeah.
5 years, he said there'll be no need for a tablet in 5 years. But what he's really talking about is he's saying there's no good revenue model for tablets. There's no recurring revenue model for tablets. So that's why he doesn't want to go there. But ultimately, it could be said there's not really a solid revenue or recurring revenue model on smartphones either. Their dependence on the BlackBerry Enterprise service is getting smaller by the day, and so that source of income, which has been huge for them, is declining. And you can definitely envision a not too distant future where BES is no longer a thing for them. But yeah, he's saying that in 5 years we won't need a tablet. But to my response is that right now we don't really need tablets either, but they're still selling really damn well.
See, I guess what he's trying to say is, I haven't heard the exact comments, but if you have a phablet or you have a well-working operating system on your mobile phone, you don't need a tablet. But that's not true for one fundamental reason: reading.
Yeah, I completely
and video.
disagree. Exactly.
Like you want to have a nice big video when you're watching video, not a tiny one. You don't want to watch Sherlock on your iPhone.
No.
You don't want to watch, Avengers on your iPhone. You want to watch it on an iPad mini or better. But I can tell you the Note 2, I find myself, because I carry both with me. I carry all three, actually. So when I'm at a poker table or I'm traveling, I have my iPhone 5, my iPad mini, and my Note 2. When I want to watch the Knicks absolutely,
destroy
somebody or get destroyed by the Celtics, I take out the Note 2 because the video is bigger and it's perfect, or I'll pick the iPad mini. So for video and also for reading, you can't use a smartphone.
Yeah, no, you can't.
But for typing, or like when you're doing one-handed, it's very hard to do the Note 2 or the iPad mini.
I'm very fast.
So I think people are going to have. I think the trend is going to be, if these things keep trending down in cost, is people are going to carry more than one device. I believe that's what will happen. Everybody will have two devices on two different services, or have a bag of gadgets. They're all going to be super cheap. And it's like, people like carrying one or two devices, having extra battery life, all this kind of thing. Let's do another story.
Okay, you want to talk about the Bitcoin ATM prototype. It's from a New Hampshire startup called
New Hampshire.
I'm very happy it's from New Hampshire.
There you go.
I'm from New Hampshire.
We're dying it.
From Vermont.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Lamassu. So the ATM lets users buy Bitcoins anonymously. Machine/service takes
That's code for terrorist.
It takes 1% commission and requires an app for QR code validation. It can be programmed to accept any global currency. It's about 25% of the size of a standard ATM, and it can be shipped by courier service anywhere. Price is estimated to be between $1,000 and $5,000. So is this going to bring Bitcoin a little closer to legitimacy?
Sure, why not? I mean, people are starting to use it for real transactions. So there's like coffee shops accepting it now. Obviously, that's a start. But all these VCs I know who just love to gamble are buying literally hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in Bitcoins.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bitcoin's
It's
got
pretty
legs.
crazy. And I think what their thesis is, if you just look on a global basis, all it takes is a couple of these Mickey Mouse governments to start crumbling, and people start moving their money into Bitcoins, which is starting to happen in Russia and with Turkey and all this other stuff going on.
The Cyprus thing.
The Cyprus, Turkey, Greece, all these places, like all the mafia people, all the rich people are starting to like, where can I put my money? I'll put some in gold. I'll put 5% in Bitcoin. Who cares? Let's see what happens, because they're so rich anyway. If you're stealing money and absolutely pillaging Russia and China, and you stole all that money anyway, putting 10% in Bitcoin and taking a flyer that it could grow 1,000x. And so I was sitting at this poker table, okay, shall remains nameless, and this one person's like, okay, the global market for drugs is this. The global market for sex trade is this. The global market for stolen goods is this. The global market for terrorism is this. And he's like rattling off all the global markets. He's like, okay, and if you get 10% of those markets to adopt Bitcoin, each Bitcoin's worth $500,000 is what he wound up with, as opposed to 190. He's like, so if you buy $100,000 in stuff, you're going to be, if there's an outside chance it could be worth $100 billion. What do you think, Howard?
None of those are accepted markets.
That's the point.
Yeah, but they're real
That's the. I mean, yes, you're going to buy. They've been using bricks of. They're using bricks of $100 bills to do that already. What do you think, Howard?
It's not that simple. It already had its run. It was its tulip moment. I think something like a Bitcoin works. In 2007, when Mike Lazarus started Buddy Media, we called it Ace Bucks, and everybody was trying to do a currency around Facebook. So, I don't know. Trust is a tough thing to corner, and to think that there'd be a global currency that everybody uses. I like your story. I like the fact that you could launder some money through Bitcoin. Who wouldn't?
Easily. I mean, people are laundering it through every currency, but it could easily do it.
But it's such a tiny thing, all right? It's still just so tiny.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody really likes it. Even if you're a drug lord who has billions of dollars, those guys don't like losing money. That's why they kill Jose all the time and Hector and hang them from airplanes, because if they see $1 missing, they freak out. So I don't think they want to see
Their Bitcoin gets hacked and like all of a sudden it's like, can I see the IT guy, please? Boom.
Yeah.
Get me a new IT guy.
These guys aren't nice people, and they don't like.
Who's got my Bitcoin wallet? Boom. Tim, what do you think?
I just don't get why we need an ATM for these. Can someone explain why we need a physical place to go
Well,
to buy
obviously, Tim, it's because you have the public who doesn't know what it is, and they want to get some reassurance. I mean, I think people are going to start printing like thumb drives with them or something, right? Like, so obviously the ATMs for buying the Bitcoins, but people don't even know how to buy them.
It's not user friendly yet.
It's not easy to do.
It's not easy to do.
No.
You're long, Mark?
Yes, I'm very long on it. I'm very bullish on it. So,
Really?
Yeah.
How many do you own?
5.
5.
Yep.
You own a full $1,000
I
worth.
five
What
Bitcoins.
price? What price did you buy your 5?
$60. So when it dunked, I went and grabbed a bunch of them.
And now they're at what,
5,
150 or something?
Yeah, about.
You tripled your money, so you got 3 dimes.
Yeah.
And where are these? In a Dropbox somewhere? Or what do you
Mount Gox.
I just
So-
took them.
I have them at mountgox.com, yeah.
You have them at Mt. Gox. So you think you have $3,000 at
Until
Mt.
they
Gox.
get stolen.
Yes,
Until the Russians
exactly.
absolutely flood them with a denial of service attack, and you can never get them out, and the feds seize it like
It's
they
always
did
a
Full
risk.
Tilt.
It's always a risk.
I'll tell you the moment. These knucklehead kids in Boston, and by the way, who are their stupid friends who, if I ever do some criminal behavior and I call Mark Jeffery, like, Mark, I did something criminal, can you go cover my tracks? Mark Jeffery's going to go to me, you schmuck, why would you do anything? Go turn yourself in. These 3 knucklehead friends of theirs covered for them after they blew people's legs off.
Yeah.
Did you read this?
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
It's crazy.
But anyway, here's how Bitcoin crashes. Those kids get $1,000 in funding from some Al-Qaeda cell because they met on a message board, and they send them 5 Bitcoins. And they're like, hey, here's 5 Bitcoins. Go buy fireworks and blow some stuff up in America. Then Bitcoin's over. Bitcoin is over. United States government's like, oh, Bitcoin? Close it. Boom. If you trade Bitcoins, it's against the, what do you think?
I'm surprised that the governments haven't gone after it harder yet for that very reason. So
I think the reason the governments are not going after harder, Howard, is because they're watching it like hawks, and they're catching so many criminals right now through the use of it.
it's a honeypot.
Oh, it's the greatest honeypot ever. It's like, oh, look, there's a currency that you can't track. And meanwhile, the government is tracking everything.
Yeah, I don't trust it. I mean,
Obviously. It's a trap!
I trust listen, you invest in startups. That's where you take your optionality.
Definitely.
He's buying Bitcoins, which is crazy. But look at him. He'll be in that same chair in 30 years going, I had 2-3 Bitcoins one day. And no, I'm just
It'd be
kidding.
great if he's like, I have 5 Bitcoins and they're worth $500,000 each. And I was like, I could have had 5,000. I would have been richer than Mark Cuban.
I like him, but it's not happening.
We'll see.
There's no shortcut to wealth. Okay, there's just no shortcut to wealth. There's investing, and there's harvesting, and everybody's had luckily, everybody can strike rich at some point, but it's just so rare. And so this is just a little bit of a speculative frenzy with Cyprus thrown in, and a trust cocktail, and the technology boom, and the cost of storage dropping. But this will move on to something more interesting than a bunch of VCs harvesting Bitcoins.
Let's talk about LinkedIn for a second. What's the story with LinkedIn?
So LinkedIn reported its quarterly results this
Okay.
week.
Give us the broad
And
strokes.
so LinkedIn beat on revenue, $324.7 million when only $317 million was expected. 45 cents EPS and 38 cents expected. Revenue was up from last quarter and year over year. 225 million members, up from 202 million last quarter, 170 million uniques, and their shares are down. And they've hit pretty significant low. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know if Howard can enlighten us.
Howard, what's going on with LinkedIn? Because I find that the service, I finally installed the mobile version after they intercept every single visit and say, download the mobile version. And it's like adult Facebook. Like I go in it and it's like all my contacts and I'm like talking to people about business and all the business stories are great. And then they've been asking me for 3 or 4 months to contribute.
To be an influencer.
And I'm like, yeah, so how much are you going to pay me, and whatever. I just like to F with people when they ask me for my words for free. And they're like, no, we're going to get you a lot of views. I'm like, well, okay, how many are you going to guarantee me? And they're like, well, we're going to guarantee you really good placement. So I do it. 100,000 people saw the first thing I wrote for them. On Pando Daily, TechCrunch, Business Insider, Huffington Post, and the other people who've syndicated my stuff for free, I get whatever, low thousands, right? But it's nice, 5,000 people,
sure.
10,000 people, 2,000 people. This was like 100,000 people saw it. I'm like, who are these people? What do you think as a media business and as a business? Howard, are you long, short, or otherwise?
I've been long. I didn't love it at 80. Bought a bunch at 120, and yesterday on the stream on StockTwits, I sold just before earnings, and love the company. They seem the most unstoppable. They're already used to taking your credit card, so the ads are not their core business. Everybody's using the words big data, but they really have good data, and they are in the data business, whereas Facebook's in the sell your stuff to Facebook's at best an Experian type of business, whereas LinkedIn's got their tentacles in many more things. And as I've talked about, if LinkedIn were to buy AngelList, all of a sudden they'd be the largest investment bank in the world. So there's a lot of steps that LinkedIn could do to disrupt finance and banking, and that's where I want LinkedIn to go. So I bought some back today, but I 175. It's extremely expensive and rich and fully priced, so it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, it's $20 billion. What do you think, Tim? Is LinkedIn becoming a bigger part of the dialogue, and you think it's more sustainable long term than Facebook?
I think it is. I think this growth will probably slow down, but ultimately it's a very important play right now. As you saw yourself, content sharing on there is becoming much more important. In fact, we have another story that was shared on LinkedIn talking about Google Glass. So I think that, I think it'll continue to grow in importance in terms of, not only a social platform, but also a publication platform. So, I think LinkedIn will continue to be.
Are they a competitor to you? And are you using them to publish your entire stories? Or are you publishing teasers and trying to get the traffic back to Engadget.com? How do you look at it? Because it seems to me like YouTube, it's hard to tell if you're a video producer, if YouTube's your friend or your enemy. It's hard to tell if LinkedIn, if you're a blog, is your friend or your enemy. Are they going to just take your audience and advertisers and eventually your writers at Engadget?
Yeah, for us, I don't think it makes sense for us to have a strong presence on LinkedIn, and indeed we don't. But ultimately, if you have an option between publishing on LinkedIn or maybe going the Huffington Post route and publishing content that way, and trying to get self-promotion, at this point, I think LinkedIn is the easier route to go. And as you've seen, it can be a very successful way to go. So I think Huffington Post and those who are soliciting contributors, particularly paid contributors, people who are being only paid in recognition and traffic, I think those people, for those people, LinkedIn is definitely a threat and a good one.
Tim, is this whole trend of give me your words for free, the devaluing of words or the trading of words for fame, a dangerous trend, or is it just adding more voices to the mix? Because as somebody who grew up as a writer, we got paid for our words, and it seems like nobody wants to pay for words anymore, and there's plenty of people who have pretty good words that don't expect to get paid.
Yeah, at Engadget, we still pay. We don't have unpaid contributions at all, and I think that's a very important part of the equation. If you can write good stuff, you should get paid for it, in my opinion.
Well, I sorry to interrupt, guys. I think it's about. Can you see me? My battery might have just died. But
no, we see you fine.
Okay, I think, Jason, I think it's about packaging. When I read you, Jason, I'm thinking of you packaged in a financial sense. How many hedge funds would pay for someone who understands to use the tools of the day that may be disruptive to the stupid stocks that they own right now in their hedge funds? So I think nobody's connecting the dots between what's happening at startups and what's happening at Google, high momentum stocks that all the institutions own. It comes down to supply and demand. Everybody's trying to monetize their words to the wrong audience. And so as Wall Street crumbles, people like Engadget, people like you, Jason, should be thinking about packaging their stuff with guys like me at StockTwits and saying, okay, let's create research that the hedge funds will pay for. And I think everybody's complaining and giving away their stuff for free. It's fine. You can give your stuff away on Twitter. But to the hedge funds who aren't reading Twitter, we could repackage some of this stuff, connect the dots like nobody's connected, like using your brains, and together disrupt Wall Street, which is where all this knowledge has to eventually go, is to make the markets, which are globalizing and becoming 24/7, that's who will pay for your words. And you guys keep fighting about, should I put it on LinkedIn or should I put it on TechCrunch or Engadget or Pando Daily? No, it should be behind a wall, distributed very carefully to hedge funds.
Interesting. I'm kind of debating what I do with my words. I'm just testing a lot of different things. American Express paid me like $3,000 a piece to do 2 pieces, and I donated it to charity. It was nice. I don't know if people find that annoying that I'm doing it there or not, but that's the only person who really, because I told Henry Blige, if you want my stuff, sure, pay me. And he was like, yeah, we don't do that. I'm like, well, you have 50 people there, because he would keep asking to take it. What do you think, Mark, what do you think of this whole situation? I don't know how to formulate a question, but
what the question
I
is.
don't even know what the question is either. But it's like,
do I think people should be paid for their words? Yes. So, I write novels, so
right.
Yes, I believe that people should be paid for their words. However, I think that there are new markets that are arising, which the value of what you're writing can be rewarded by the market, and not necessarily up front. So I kind of believe in that model, and some new experimental models arising right now.
Yeah.
So,
Kieran, you wouldn't even had a career if you didn't. If we were starting out. If you were starting your career out now, we were doing like magazines, there wouldn't even be in a job, right? Like there'd be so many less jobs in journalism.
Well, that's what I find so interesting is that journalism schools are still around and still producing graduates. And I mean, they're cheaper than older experienced magazine writers or newspaper writers, editors. But at the same time, somebody needs to know the basics. And that's what you and Sarah Lacey talked about a few months ago, how to actually report, how to build relationships and sources. I mean, that sort of stuff is still going to be important.
And they don't even have the time to do it. That's the other thing. They're under such pressure to file that how do you find the money, the budget to mentor people? Tim, what do you do on Engadget? Like, how much people are under so much pressure to file? How do you train people up, or do you just hire people who are great commenters? I mean, it seems like the concept of being a career journalist is ending. Is it ending?
I sure hope not. What we do here is we basically hire a combination of people who are already established and know what they're doing, and people who really have a great passion and a good voice, but ultimately are a bit rough around the edges. For those latter group of people, we basically put them through like a boot camp, effectively, where they are, very rigorously trained on the Engadget voice and the Engadget way of doing things, and they work more or less hand in hand with the editors. Every post they write gets rigorously edited. It takes hours for the first couple edits. Over the weeks it gets better. Usually that takes about 3 or 4 months, maybe at the most, and then at that point they're cut free to post on the site. So we take the hit up front. That training process is very painful, both for the person being trained and for the rest of the team as well. They are effectively a burden on the entire team, but we think it's important that everybody get brought up to that level of quality. We don't want anybody just posting anything, and that's why one of the reasons that we don't accept those sorts of contributions unpaid, because we want there to be a consistent voice across the site.
So I think journalism's collapsing on itself now in order to make a new type of journalism. And things have to sometimes go through this.
Same with Wall Street. Those guys were higher paid, people, and we don't hear a word from them. All those research heads laid off. So this is all going to come together. All these platforms meets all this talent, meets all these new ways to mix and mash these things, these words, and for all these different markets for these words to be sold into. So I'm pretty bullish on the whole idea. It's getting, we're not there yet, but I'm getting bullish.
Yeah, see, I think it's creative destruction. Like the whole thing's got to come apart. Like the magazine business has come apart. Like Lossie's doing all kinds of new stuff, trying to make it easier to publish and self-publish, or Flipboard with their new tool. Like it's all got to come crashing down, and somebody's got to get inside this and really.
Oh please!
They just got to.
You are so cheap, dude. You are so cheap. Come on. Here's another Inside.com plug from Jason, who's not really going to tell you what he's doing.
53 minutes in, I get a little inside plug.
You are insufferable.
No, seriously, like if I could get my head inside of this and
inside of it. Inside of it.
If I was inside of this space. Yes. Okay, next story. I can get a little plug on my own show.
All right. So we were talking about quarterly results. Facebook was actually quite interesting this week as well. You don't care about Facebook?
I'm so bored and
they're finally making progress in mobile, it looks like.
What kind of progress? They're spamming people with ads and nobody knows they're an ad. Can anybody on the panel tell me if when they open their phone and they see that big Intuit ad, or they see that somebody Scoble liked, the Motorola, whatever. Can anybody tell me if on the panel if they know the difference between what's an ad on Facebook now and what's like a like of a brand? On mobile?
On the mobile, it's definitely hard. On the desktop, it's a little bit easier, but it's definitely a little bit hard to tell on mobile. Actually, I just gave a speech a couple hours ago talking about the integration of advertising and how it's getting harder and harder to tell things apart. It's definitely a bit tricky, and it's definitely a bit shady.
Where's the
I can usually pick it
FTC
out.
on all this? Like the
I don't
FTC used
That's
to
what I wonder
police
too.
it.
I don't understand how they're not on top of this, and branded content and advertorial and everything else. It just seems like it's spreading like wildfire right now because of the issues that you just mentioned. Publishers are struggling to get revenue, and this is
They're whoring
a
themselves. I mean, look at
relatively
BuzzFeed. Like you go on BuzzFeed, like right now, Pouring Gadget and BuzzFeed are competing, right, for advertisers. And BuzzFeed's like, absolutely, we will do anything you want on any editorial basis. We'll do a post, the top 10 awesome things about the new PlayStation 3. And they did a post like this. And it's like the 10 most epic moments. And they do it as a blog post. And they write it for them. And they publish it. And there's like a little tiny note somewhere like, BuzzFeed is, prostituting itself again. And then you never would see that. And then Engadget, if they came to you and said, do the top 10 things, what do you guys say?
We tell them to go climb a tree. I mean, we tell people to do that all the time, but we see, our competitors, Polygon is running sponsored content, and Vox Media just set up a whole new video wing, basically, to exclusively film sponsored content, advertorial stuff. But no, we don't allow any of that stuff on the site. I think it's a very crucial part of what we are and how we continue to be as strong as we are, that voice and the integrity that we maintain.
This is the thing. FTC is going to come in, and they are going to start fining people. Facebook is going to get a huge fine. BuzzFeed's going to get a huge fine. Vox Media is going to get a huge fine. Nobody can tell the difference. And everybody's going to have to start labeling their ads and start actually acting. What's that?
Been seeing a lot of this, the suggested app.
Yeah, see, this is the thing I'm talking about. It says suggested app.
But it looks like a post.
And look, they're sponsored. It's like the tiniest little thing there says sponsored.
Yeah.
And you would never know. And it's like 3 friends use this.
A lot in the last.
And install now. Yeah. That is deceptive advertising at its best.
Yeah.
The only legislation that I can find that talks about this is from the U.S. Postal Service, and it's talking about mailings that are shipped to you, and magazines have to be very clear on what's an advertisement and what isn't. As far as I can tell, there's nothing online regulating this stuff.
This is the thing that disgusts me about our industry. It really does, is that there is absolutely no moral compass. The moral compass is what can you get away with and how long can you get away with it? And how long can you leverage it until somebody calls you out on it? And by the way, it doesn't matter if anybody calls you out on it ultimately. All that matters is that you get the goddamn uniques and the money, and you can murder and pillage and steal and get lawsuits. And as long as you win, that's all that matters. And Zuckerberg lied and cheated and stole and is still doing deceptive advertising after a $20 million fine, the largest fine ever from the government over the privacy stuff. And he's laughing about it.
Yeah.
My house costs $40 million, $20 million fine. Who cares?
Doesn't matter.
You can, and let me tell you something. This industry, the Silicon Valley industry, the technology industry is so morally bankrupt. It makes Hollywood and it makes Wall Street look good. And it's hard to make those two people look good.
So what else are you thinking of when you say that?
About just people cheating and stealing their way to the top? Pick it. I mean, just if you win, everybody loves you. That's all that matters in this industry. You could. What do you think, Howard? You're shaking your head no?
I think it's a good rant. I think.
Rate the rant. Rate the rant.
The rant was a little better than Google TV.
Okay, good. All right, I'm getting better. I'm getting warmed up for the show. See, Howard gets it. Howard gets it. He's like, well, on a media basis and on a talk radio basis, the show's getting good. Go ahead.
It's why I couldn't live up there. I mean, everybody's into the San Francisco thing right now, and I couldn't live in that city. Ugh. And, everybody hated L.A., and now I think L.A. is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Forgetting the orange jacket, I think L.A. is pretty cool. And
all right, so just so people can keep track, Tim got insulted in minute 10. Jeffrey got insulted for being a Bitcoin dope in minute 21, and it took 58 minutes.
While, though.
So, Kieran, you're next.
I'm not insulting.
You're describing. I understand. It's a description.
It's not even worth discussing. I'm moving on quickly. Is that yes, winning matters. When money is on the line, VCs like Mark Andreessen, sure is a great guy and done a lot for the world. He's judged on his returns,
And he's betting on Bitcoin, just so you know. But
All right, keep
I
going.
don't
Let
care
him.
what he does. He's being paid for his returns, and that is no different than Wall Street in the end. So Silicon Valley is replacing many of the things of Wall Street, and so we're in this really, I agree with you, area where Facebook and Path can get away with horrific things with our address books because we don't understand them ourselves. 99% of the public don't understand where when we push that button what it means. You guys barely understand, and you're in the 1%ers. So this is what's going to happen in this land grab, and hopefully, businesses will be sprung out of this to kind of put the balance of power back into the consumer's hands. But the consumer's got everything for free. We can order Amazon Prime and get a fridge shipped to us, or a grape or a shoe leash shipped to us the next day. This stuff isn't free, and the tax this time is on our identity. And we will see how big that tax is over time. But right now, it's been a small tax to pay to put up with Facebook ads in our face that are deceptive.
I just feel like
overall,
the good guys are losing. I mean, that's what it comes down to. That's what I feel like.
Google, good guys or bad guys?
I don't know.
Debatable.
good guys aren't losing.
Debatable.
More good.
It's debatable. I think Google doesn't know when they're being bad. I think there actually are good guys and gals. I just think that they're so big that sometimes they step on people without knowing it. And I've tried to work with them on this issue. Like, hey, you're like my partner, and then you do the Panda update, and you're absolutely decimating our business, and it's like this big elephant, and we're this little mouse, and it's like you just stepped on our foot, and you broke our leg, and you didn't even know it. And they're like, oh yeah, we're sorry you broke your leg. Yeah. It's like they just don't know. But then there are other people like Facebook, which I just think are straight up bad actors.
Well, what about Twitter?
No, Twitter's great. I think Twitter actually gets it.
Even after what they did to the developers, right? This whole we're going to control.
I think that they telegraphed
platform.
over many years what they were doing. So I wasn't pleased with it. I'm not going to say I was pleased with it, but they did say over many years, don't make a Twitter client because we are going to buy some Twitter clients, and then we're going to have our own, and we're going to limit access. So they did a very gradual path for people, and they bought a couple. So I actually think they did it in a very Menschy kind of way. And I know that because I know Evan Williams and I know Jack, and I talked to them about it. They were like, we have to do this because just like Facebook has one app, you need to have one app so people like Grandma knows what to download when she gets on Twitter. Not like she has to pick between 20 different Twitter clients, which is absurd. And then we have to deal with this. Let me pull up my computer screen here. This is not what I need to see. I mean, Jesus. I mean, this ruined my week.
I was going to mention that earlier.
Look at Robert Scoble.
This is not something that ever should have been published.
You can't unsee it ever.
I can't unsee it. And it's just look.
Oh, Robert.
I mean, look, Scoble is such a disaster.
I did not need
I mean,
to
I
see
love
this.
Robert. He's a friend. But Robert.
He's a dear friend.
He's a dear, dear friend. But number one, he looks like he's in a prison shower. I mean, I'm looking at.
Doesn't he have a better shower than that?
Look at the shower head. No, I don't think that. No, he's in a hotel somewhere.
Okay.
But I'm like, he's staying in the Bates Motel. The shower head looks terrible. The hair. What's going on with his hair? Then he's screaming. His face is red. And the hair on the shoulders.
Yeah, just like the purple head.
And it's like he doesn't even have a body. He's just like this orc. He looks like an orc from Lord of the Rings.
He's the great
and
babe.
he hit the publish key. Robert, you did this to yourself. Tim, when you saw this, did you run it on Engadget? And if you did run it on Engadget, did you put a parental, not safe for work label?
Great babe.
I did share it with everybody, and I said, warning, this may scar you forever, and indeed I think it has in some individuals. I did keep my shirt on during testing of glass, I'd like to say. I did not go to any showers, did not post any incriminating photos of myself. Interesting choice of photo there. Taken by his wife, I think he pointed out.
His wife took it, or although he took it in his mirror. But, I mean, okay, maybe the kid from Mashable, he's a good-looking guy. Have the guy from Mashable take a picture of himself.
Pete Cashmore.
Look at Karen's Pete Cashmore. Look at that smile. Pete Cashmore.
I don't even know what he looks like. I know his name, that's all.
That was a little bit of a little glow there. She's like, Pete Cashmore.
I'll take Matt Damon any day.
Right, like Matt Damon and Google Glass, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
Rob, this is the other problem with the industry. Our industry is Robert Scoble naked in a shower with Google Glass.
That's horrifying.
And Mark Zuckerberg doing whatever it takes to do deceptive advertising, and then BuzzFeed and Vox selling their soul and doing, just basically whoring them. I mean, really, I know Jim Bankoff. Are you really whoring? I mean, he's a friend of mine. He obviously bought my company. why would you, I mean, I don't know exactly what they're executing on, but why would you whore yourself like that? And BuzzFeed, I understand it's kittens and stupidity or whatever, but I mean, they're also very talented too. Like, why are people whoring themselves like this? It's a disgrace. BuzzFeed, Facebook, Vox, it's disgraceful to do this kind of deceptive advertising. It's a disgrace. What does your career mean if you have to deceive consumers? You are a
Don't do it.
loser.
There you go. Jason, you've seen the movie Idiocracy, though, right?
It is idiocracy, and I'm pissed off about it. Like, I don't have enough beans on me right now.
I was gonna say,
Shove
those
in
are some
$9.
singles there.
I'm sorry, just bleep all that out. It,
It's
I
like
don't
a
care.
$900 jacket, and you can't swear on your own show.
Well, you have to put it in the swear jar. It goes to a good cause. We're giving it to charity water or whatever.
It'll flow back into BuzzFeed in ads.
All right, we'll go around the horn. Tim, what was the big story of the week for you? Give it a minute to think about it. What's a big thing, intriguing thing? What's the most intriguing thing? Let me ask that. The most intriguing thing or the biggest story in your world? Intriguing or business?
For me, it was the Glass review because it was my entire world for the past week was working on this. So that, I don't mean to sound self-effacing or anything, but ultimately for me, it was the Glass review to see these out in the wild. There are a bunch in the wild now too, so I'm really eager to see what other people.
And
think
what's the
about
most
this.
surprising thing that you learned in the first week of using the product?
The most surprising thing for me was how cool doing a hangout was. I mean, the initial idea that you do a hangout with somebody and they wouldn't see you, they'd see what you're seeing, seemed like a horrible idea to me, as of even a couple of weeks ago. But I was standing in California on the beach, and I called my wife, who was in upstate New York, and just to show her the view. And it was really cool, actually, to be able to see her face like light up when she saw the view. So I can imagine, going to a museum and your friend can't join you and dialing them in and basically walking to the museum and having a conversation with that person and then seeing what you see. I think there's actually some interesting potential there.
That's amazing. And if you want to really get an idea of where this is going, rent Strange Days this weekend. Catherine Bigelow, where you get to experience what the people are experiencing wearing the headsets. That's a really great answer. Howard, what's the most intriguing thing going on in Howard Lindzon's world? I'm bracing myself for the answer, Howard.
All right, here we go. People, you're in the grass, not the forest here.
Okay. In the weeds.
The S&P hit an all-time high today, all-time high. The world would end it in 2008. The world was going to end on, if you had done a show this the same day in 2008, you would have said, oh my God, get my gold out. There was no mention of Bitcoins in 2008. It was just gold. Get me gold, okay? Gold is crashing. Bitcoin's rising. Google's at an all-time high. Warren Buffett's on Twitter. Google's at an all-time high. Like I said, the Tesla's a reality. And during all this, railroads also at an all-time high, owned by Uncle Warren. So there's a lot of people just not understanding how on the macro level things are just booming. Everybody's, in the weeds here talking about Google Glass and BuzzFeed.
All right, so what is on the macro level happening? What is happening on the macro level? It's supposed to be over.
It's not over. I was writing about it today on my blog, and I've been writing about it for 3 years. It's the people web. We're all connected. So you were back doing the avatars in '95, okay? You didn't expect for everybody to be connected in this way where we all know each other before we get on a show, whether we're in the same room or not. Nobody can value, when the world can't value the leverage, when Wall Street and the world can't figure out what these companies are worth, that's opportunity. So there's never been this, even though we're at all-time highs in the S&P, there has never been a better time to be doing the kind of stuff that we're all talking about, because the leverage and the scale at which things can be done is amazing. So that's what's interesting to me, and it's playing out as we speak today with the S&P hitting an all-time high. The Dow basically at all-time highs.
I shifted.
That's pretty incredible.
It is incredible, and it is miraculous that we went from the world being over to hitting all these highs. And
all-time high.
And the world is still ending in some parts of the world, and nobody cares. But
it's not ending.
All right.
Listen, go to London. Yeah. If you go to London, quick little thing, go to London, get in a cab, go to Hoxton, go to the Google campus. You know what the black cabbie says to you? Hey, you're going to the area where Jack the Ripper was born. So the world in London, everybody's still covering they're looking at their little sterlings and going, oh my God, hoard them in the corner. Whereas Google just launched themselves with Facebook on on the island, and people still think of that neighborhood where Google is where Jack the Ripper and all these peasants came from.
Whitechapel.
So, I mean, this is now playing out in other pockets around the world, be it Berlin or London. And so I think we're still just at the beginning of all this. So it's pretty exciting. Maybe not the beginning, but like in the middle innings of what this boom is.
Second, third inning. It clearly it's something.
Yeah, maybe even a little later, but still a wonderful time to be in
Something
the game.
is happening here, but you don't know what it is. Mark, Jeffrey.
So my top story of the week is a local one.
Okay.
DreamWorks Animation just bought Awesomeness TV
Good story.
for $117 million.
Well, 33 with incentives up to 117.
Yes. So,
and it seems like they're buying it because this guy is a creative genius. From what I understand, this is the person who made a couple of the big TV shows for kids previously.
yes, that is correct. So, well, I mean, it's interesting because I think that's the first exit we've seen of a company like that
Yeah.
here in LA.
Yeah.
So we have Machinima, we have Maker, full
Yep.
screen.
I hear Maker's losing $2 million a month. Is that what you hear? Like burning?
I don't know, actually.
I heard they're across the street from us here. I heard they're burning $2 million a month.
They're burning a lot. I know that, but
I mean, there are so many cars across the street from us at Maker right now that they have a valet, and
wow.
it's like I don't know how many people are working over there, but it's got to. I heard 400 people.
Wow.
400 people. Now, if you just put like, I don't know, $9,000 against each person a month with all the overhead and HR and all the management and stuff like that, I mean, you're getting to $2.5 million a month in spend. It's $30 million a year in spend. It does not seem inconceivable for them to be spending $3 or $4 million a month.
Yep.
And if they're making $2 or $3 million a month, that's fantastic. But boy, they're going to need. They've raised $40 million, but it is a big story.
They raise a lot.
It is a big story.
Yep.
Kieran, what's your story of the week? What's the most intriguing thing for you this week?
Well, I kind of liked following the Disrupt Startup Battlefield.
Yes, we had a winner. Who's the winner?
Since we went through that process not too long ago ourselves, it was a company
It was a
called...
very, I mean, this is not a dig to anybody, but it was a weak field, clearly. They don't really process these companies as hard as we do.
Yeah, I watched some of the final demos from the finalists. There were 7 companies altogether. The winner was Enigma, which actually was not...
Do we have video of that or no?
Not
Queued up?
stealth. We don't have video of that queued
okay.
up. Enigma was in TechCrunch itself just about 2 months ago because it raised just over $1 million in seed. And there really wasn't anything new between then and now. I mean, it's very impressive what they're doing. They have 100,000 data sets. They've got most of those from the government through Freedom of Information Act requests. And they're doing really cool stuff with the ability to drill down into that data.
Yeah.
So it's really cool what they're doing, and I think that's why they won. Is they had the biggest vision of anybody who was on the stage.
So they're doing big data, but Google does that big. Here they are. Oh, I guess they're announcing who the winner is. But
Yeah,
I wanted
Alexia.
to see the actual demo.
Yeah. You have
And Mike
to
Arrington
see
showed up
that.
for that, which
He
people didn't
did.
expect him to show up.
He did.
All right, well, that's very
Surprised by
interesting.
that.
Let's not talk about Michael Arrington. I got enough Michael Arrington for one lifetime. All right. Honestly, it's enough Arrington
Bring
for
that
one
on
life.
yourself.
What's
Bringing
that?
shit- You're bringing that nonsense on yourself.
Oh, God, no. I mean, we can't not discuss Disrupt because it's a big conference. And congratulations to
Nothing.
Enigma for winning $50,000. And congratulations to me for raising $600,000 for the launch fund. So we'll have $600,000 in funding each year for the launch winners. Not that it's a competition, but we won it.
That's a lot more than 50, and that 50 hasn't changed since you guys started back in
Yeah,
2007.
it used to be $25K from both of us, but it's a
Yeah.
prize, not an investment. But I will be announcing investments in 3 of the launch winners that would be in the range of $300,000. So I've already allocated $300,000 of the launch fund. And we might have 2 more partners come in, so it could be as high as $1 million a year. Hey, listen, everybody follow at Howard Lindzon on Twitter. And Howard, any plugs?
StockTwits. I think we're growing really fast. We think that vertical communities built off the fire hoses, and you can't be someone's bitch. You got to do it yourself and build your own platforms. But there's so many ways to get customers these days, not users, but customers. And so I think sincerity and that cheers-like attitude around communities. I think StockTwits has done a great job around that. We're really proud of it ourselves. So that's my.
And you
plug.
guys innovated because you created the $TSLA or $Goog on
Yes.
Twitter.
Yeah.
And now,
Yeah, we
but Twitter
created
still
that.
hasn't made that clickable.
They've made it clickable to themselves, so they put it behind their own wall. So they've done what they did to the hashtag and what they've done to the link. Listen, it's like you said, in the overall scheme of things, Twitter's a net giver, not a net taker. So we're caught in the crossfires around one little problem. And we.
So where do you get your data from? Do they give you the data? Or you go through DataSift or?
No. StockTwits, we don't pull Twitter at all. So StockTwits is its own platform.
Yeah.
We send stuff into Twitter,
Yeah.
but only about 10% of our messages end up going through Twitter. So it's a self-sufficient community. You have to sign up on your own. And if you want to talk about stocks and learn, StockTwits is the place to do it.
Everybody follow at Howard Lindzon, and everybody check out StockTwits. Really great site, and I check it out all the time when I'm preparing for the show. Tim Stevens of Engadget, you can follow at Tim_Stevens. And what's going on in Engadget's world? You got Peter Rojas and Ryan Block back. That's got to be great to have the boys back in the band.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome to have them back. Gadget's got a great team of people, and to be working with them is fantastic. And of course, to have those two back is great as well. We just won 2 Webbies for the Engadget show, which I'm real proud of.
Very nice.
So I would definitely encourage folks to check that out. We completely retooled the show about 5 months ago, and it's really great now. Great format. Our last one was on the evolving world of music. So we talked with Pitchfork, we talked with Pandora, Dan Deacon, John Vanderslice, did a lot of great interviews, and tried to tie the whole sphere of music right now into a nice, wonderful package for you to open and enjoy.
Wow, I'm looking at it right now. This is incredibly well done. I see episode 43, Moog, KCRW, and WFMU, 2 great things. So you're really trying to take a well-produced approach to it. How many people do you have producing the show?
We have a very small team. We've got probably about three or four people behind the camera, and then Brian Heater and myself in front of the camera.
So, yeah, see, I'm trying to find a full-time producer to do what you're doing here, because you have the Engadget show number 43, but I see you broke it up into 7 videos or 7 components.
Yeah, so what we do is we go on site and we film segments with different places. So we went to Pandora, we went to the Pitchfork offices, we went to Sub Pop offices and did interviews there. And then we go to a location that's interesting in some way and basically tie it all together and film the interstitials there. So we went to the PMD Museum up in Seattle, and Brian and I did all the interstitials to kind of tie the whole show together. And then, excuse me, through the course of the month, we'll run those individual segments along with features on the site as well. So we'll kind of split the show up and provide more context for each one.
It's great. That's what we want to do here. So we're actually looking for a executive producer for the show. Mark Jeffery, what's new in your world?
Well, there's Glossy.com, where anyone can make and publish rich media magazines for tablets. And, of course, there's the novels, Max Quick, published by HarperCollins.
Oh, yeah, Max Quick. Yeah, of course, your novel. And it got picked up for a movie?
Yep, still very close on that.
Congrats. That's great.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Max Quick is the series that Mark Jeffery wrote, and it's been optioned and all that kind of stuff. And if you got kids, they're going to love it. If you're an adult, you're going to love it too. Kieran, what's going on in your world?
Launch Education and Kids.
What dates?
June 26 and 27.
You know what? Stop with the kids.
Enough with the kids. Oh, you didn't have a chance to insult Kieran. Go ahead, Howard. Sorry, we're 1 minute and 60 seconds in. Let me see.
Hey, listen, Warren Buffett's in your corner. Warren Buffett's on Twitter saying he likes ladies. And of course, yeah, he owns the largest diamond store in the world. Of course he loves ladies.
Did he literally say, I like ladies? Warren Buffett is macking.
Yeah, he's like, he's long ladies.
He's long ladies.
Long women. I go, yeah, he's got a diamond store. No wonder.
All right, so here, let's just do a quick prediction.
Always a pimp.
When does Warren Buffett have his Andrew Weiner moment?
Oh no! Oh no!
You know it's gonna happen.
It's
one of these guys is gonna have like an Andrew.
Yeah. Within a year.
Weiner. What's his name?
Weiner. It is Weiner.
Check out. It's already funny. Warren Buffett with an I. It's already a very funny Twitter.
Oh, you saw
Buffitt. Warren.
You saw Bill.
Sorry, did I interrupt your moment of children?
Yeah,
No. I was just saying Launch Education and Kids event, June 26th and 27th at Microsoft's campus in Mountain View.
Yeah, well, 300 people. It's almost sold out, and 20 companies will show new education stuff.
That's correct.
Mitch Kapoor, legend, is going to be
Fireside
there. I'd
chat.
like to give him a Lifetime Achievement Award at the thing. So can we get a Lifetime Achievement Award set up for him? I want to give him, as a launch person, a Lifetime Achievement Award. And then we should have the Lifetime Achievement Awards somewhere on the site, the launch site,
Okay.
Let's sort of make a ceremony out of that. All right, listen, this has been an amazing program. Thank you, Howard. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Kieran. Thank you, Brandis, on the ones and twos. Thank you, Demont, for selling the hell out of the show. Thank you to all the ticker folks for rocking out the lunch ticker. And who's the new kid? Luke is working with Demont.
That's right. He's
And
not
Emily.
a kid. He has a PhD in
Yeah, all right. Tell that
biochemistry.
kid he did a good job this week. And who's the other one? Emily is working.
Emily,
out there. Emily's doing a great job. That
is.
kid's good too.
Yes.
I've been calling people kids. I was like, yeah, that's a good kid. And it's like, that person's
Are they like 25 or something?
47 years old and is the CEO of a company that's 10 times bigger than yours. I'm like, yeah, good kid. Good kid. Hey, listen, have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next time on This Week in Startups. Great job, Howard. Great job, Tim.
Woohoo.